We're back with another one today. We're reacting to what if Spider-Man worked at Freddy's FAZBEAR'S by Specular. Let's get into it.
Most people think fighting a guy named Green Goblin is the weirdest thing a kid from Queens can do on a Tuesday night. Most people are wrong. Peter Parker has fought supervillains, dodged pumpkin bombs, and gotten yelled at by cops. And none of it prepared him for a 6-foot animatronic bear trying to shove him into a mechanical suit at 3 a.m. Tonight, a broke, exhausted Peter Parker puts on the security uniform at Freddy FAZBEAR'S, sits down in the chair, and locks the doors. His spider sense can't tell him what's wrong. His genius can't explain what the cameras keep showing. And somewhere in the dark, the purple guy is about to realize he isn't the most dangerous thing in the building. To understand how Spider-Man ends up sitting in a rundown pizzeria in the middle of the night, you have to understand Peter Parker's real superpower: financial desperation. It's the winter of 1993. Peter Parker is broke, 2 months behind on rent, and Aunt May's medical bills aren't stopping. Which is why a superhero ends up taking a cash job that pays $120 a week to babysit animatronics. The actual find is exactly as dignified as it sounds: a diner, a stale bagel, a classified section. Buried at the bottom of the page, right next to an ad for a used lawnmower, is a small black and white square: help wanted, Freddy FAZBEAR'S Pizza, family pizzeria looking for a security guard to work the night shift, 12 a.m. to 6 a.m. Monitor cameras, ensure safety of equipment, and animatronic characters. $120 a week. To apply, call 1-800-FAZ-FAZBEAR. $120 a week is a joke, below minimum wage, but it's a cash job that pays at the end of the week. It's a night shift. He can sit in an empty restaurant, get some studying done, maybe take a quick nap, and still have his evenings free to stop muggers in Manhattan. It sounds like the easiest job in the world. He calls the number. A manager with a tired, nervous voice hires him immediately over the phone. There's no background check or reference. The guy just sounds desperate to fill the slot. Show up by 11:45 p.m. on Monday night. Grab the uniform from the locker room. Lock the doors behind you. Monday night, Peter takes a subway out to a dingy, dying commercial district. Freddy FAZBEAR'S Pizza sits at the end of an empty strip mall. The neon sign is flickering. Half the letters are burned out, so it just reads Freddy FAZBEAR'S. He walks past the dining area, table covered in cheap party hats. At the front of the room sits the show stage. 3 massive animatronics standing completely still in the dark: Freddy, Bonnie, and Chica. They look heavy, outdated, and creepy. Their jaw hinges are slightly open, exposing the metal endoskeleton teeth beneath the fur. Peter's spider sense gives a faint, dull throb at the base of his skull. It isn't a sharp warning, like when someone points a gun at him. It's a low hum, the feeling you get when you step into a room and realize that you're being watched. He shakes it off, assuming it's just a creepy atmosphere. He walks down the long, checkered...
Not gonna lie, but here's my thing. If Spider-Man does come in here and he fights at full power, can't he just, like, tear the animatronics apart? Isn't he, like, so strong that he can just rip the animatronics apart? Maybe. Oh my god.
hallway and finds a security office. It's cramped and dusty. There's a desk, a fan, and a bunch of crumpled paper, as well as a small CRT monitor connected to the camera system. There's 2 doors on either side of the office, equipped with heavy steel blast doors and lights. Peter sits down in the leather chair. He pulls his Spider-Man mask out of his backpack and stuffs it into his jacket pocket just in case. The clock on the wall ticks over to midnight. The phone on the desk suddenly starts ringing. Peter picks up the receiver. It's a pre-recorded message. Peter leans back into the chair, spinning a pen between his fingers. He listens to the man on the tape, the guy everyone calls Phone Guy, explain the company greeting. But then, the message takes a very weird, very dark turn. The guy on the phone starts talking about the animatronics wandering around at night. He mentions that their servo motors will lock up if they stay turned off for too long. He casually brings up the bite of 87, mentioning that a human being can actually live without their frontal lobe. Peter stops spinning the pen. He sits straight up. Wait, what? Then the phone guy drops the real problem. If the animatronics see Peter after hours, they won't recognize him as a person. They'll think he's a metal endoskeleton without its costume on. And since that's against the rules at Freddy FAZBEAR'S Pizza, they'll forcefully stuff him inside a Freddy FAZBEAR suit. A suit filled with crossbeams, wires, and spring locks.
The only parts of you that would like to see the light of day again would be your eyeballs and teeth pop up around the mask. Yeah, they don't tell you these things when you sign up. Alright, good night.
The tape clicks off. The office is dead silent, except for the buzzing of the desk fan. Peter stares at the phone. Okay, he mutters to himself. So the giant mechanical animals are going to try to murder me for $120 a week. Apparently need to talk to Jameson about a raise. He pulls the camera monitor up. He checks the show stage. Freddy and Chica are still standing there. Bonnie is gone. Peter's heart beats a little faster. He flips through the cameras. He finds Bonnie in the backstage area, standing uncomfortably close to the camera lens, staring directly into the red recording light. The robot's eyes are completely black, with tiny white dots glowing in the center. That's not a glitch, Peter whispers. Servo motors locking up doesn't explain predatory movement. They're hunting. He checks the power power meter on the desk, 85% power left. It's barely 1 a.m. Keeping the doors closed drains the building's limited battery. If he runs out of power, the doors open. The lights go out, and he's dead meat. At 2:30 a.m., Peter's spider sense flares sharply. The warning is coming from his left. He doesn't check the camera, he just hits the light button by the left door. Bonnie the bunny is standing right outside the window, looking in. The massive robot is over 6 feet tall. Its purple fur matted and dirty. A normal guard would panic and slam the door button, draining precious power. But Peter Parker doesn't do that. Peter walks right up to the open doorway. He looks Bonnie up and down. The robot twitches, its jaw snapping open and closed, preparing to lunge into the office to grab him. You know, purple really isn't your color, Peter says. Bonnie lunges forward. Peter moves faster than humanly possible. He sidesteps the metal arm. He raises his wrists and fires 2 thick concentrated streams of web fluid directly into Bonnie's knee joints. The robot tries to step forward, but the webbing hardens instantly into a substance stronger than steel. Bonnie's servos whine and grind loudly as the machine locks up in the doorway. It thrashes its upper body, reaching for Peter, but its legs are bolted to the floor. Peter walks around the struggling robot, examining the joints. Interesting, he says, rubbing his chin. You're running on hydraulic actuators, but the fluid pressure is wrong for a machine built in the 70s. And the way you move, it wasn't pre-programmed, it was reactive. He shoots another web, sticking Bonnie's arm to its torso. The robot is immobilized. Peter doesn't use the steel doors at all. He saves his power. He spends the rest of the night reading a chemistry textbook while Bonnie angrily twitches in the doorway. When 6 a.m. hits, a chime rings through the building. The animatronics are programmed to return to their daytime positions. Bonnie's glowing eyes flicker, and the robot stops struggling. Peter grabs a bottle of industrial solvent from the supply closet, dissolving the webbing, and watches the robot slowly shamble back to the show stage. Peter clocks out. He survived night 1, but he knows that something is deeply wrong with this place. Night 2 starts entirely differently. Peter doesn't just sit in the office. He knows the power grid is a joke. FAZBEAR Entertainment is running the entire building on a cheap generator to save money, but Peter is a mechanical genius. Before midnight hits, he grabs his tool belt, climbs into the ceiling tiles, and bypasses the main breaker. He reroutes power from the neighboring abandoned storefront's grid directly into the pizzeria. It works, mostly. When the clock strikes midnight, Peter sits in his chair with a full 100% power supply that isn't draining, but the bypass killed 2 of his camera feeds. Pirate Cove and the backstage area are both dead on the monitor, just static. He has infinite power now, but 2 blind spots that he can't close. Take that, corporate cheapskates, he mutters. Then he looks at the static on the Pirate Cove feed and stops smiling. Okay, half take that. He listens to the second phone call. The phone guy mentions checking the curtains in Pirate Cove. He talks about Foxy, the animatronic that isn't allowed out during the day. Peter pulls up the Pirate Cove camera, static. He can't see anything. His spider sense gives him a slow, steady pulse. Foxy isn't like the others. Whatever is behind that curtain, it's been watching the hallway since he got here, and now he has no way to see it coming. At 3 a.m., his spider sense doesn't pulse anymore. It spikes. Peter switches to the West Hall camera. He sees it, a tall, withered fox animatronic sprinting down the hallway, not walking in a robotic shamble, running at full sprint. Its metal feet slamming against the checkered floor tiles. In the game, you have exactly 3 seconds to slam the left door before Foxy enters the office and kills you. Peter doesn't touch the door. He stands up, walks out of the office, and steps directly into the West Hall. Foxy comes barreling out of the darkness, jaw unhinged, screeching a horrible metallic noise. The robot weighs at least 400 pounds and is moving at 20 miles per hour. It's a mechanical death trap. Peter bends his knees, waits for the exact second, and jumps. He leaps entirely over Foxy's head, doing a perfect backflip in the narrow hallway. While he's upside down in midair, Peter fires a wide web net directly at Foxy's feet. The heavy animatronic hits the webbing. Its momentum carries it forward, but its feet are locked. Foxy face plants into the floor tiles of the massive crash. Metal parts scrape across the linoleum, sparks flying from its exposed endoskeleton joints. Foxy slides to a halt.
This is what I'm saying, though. Like, sorry, I'm not talking very much. I'm listening, right? I'll give a little advice here and there, and I'll give my full advice during the end video. But if he can just keep doing this, technically he can just cheat the systems, and the animatronics will never get him, right?
Right at the entrance
That's
of the
what I'm
office,
saying.
in the web net. The robot
Like,
thrashes,
they can't
its
do
tongue
anything
violently
against
slashing on
him.
the floor, but it can't get up. Peter lands on his feet behind the robot. He walks up to the struggling fox and crouches down. He doesn't feel fear. He feels immense curiosity. You're not running on standard AI, Peter whispers, pulling a small flashlight from his belt. He shines it into Foxy's exposed chest cavity. He expects to see wires, motherboards, and battery packs. He sees those things, but he also sees something else. Tucked deep inside the metal ribs, dried into the crevices of the servos, are dark brownish red stains. Peter is a superhero. He knows exactly what dried blood looks like. He leans closer. The smell of copper hits him again, much stronger this time. It isn't old pizza. It's biological. The kind of contamination you get when organic matter has been sealed inside a metal cavity for years. Peter doesn't have an explanation for it, not yet, but his spider sense is still buzzing, quietly, like a frequency he can't quite tune out. Something happened to these machines. Something that has nothing to do with the servo motors. He just doesn't know what yet. By night 3, Peter Parker stops treating this like a bizarre security job. He treats it like a crime scene. He doesn't stay in the office at all. The animatronics don't know how to handle a target who actively repeatedly hunts them back. He wears his Spider-Man suit under a security uniform, leaving the mask in his pocket. At 1 a.m., Chica the chicken moves into the kitchen. The camera in the kitchen is being disabled, audio only. Usually the guard just listens to the sounds of pots and pans crashing together in the dark. Peter walks down the east hall. He climbs straight over the wall, sticking to the ceiling like a bug. He crawls silently along the ceiling tiles, right over the dining area, entirely avoiding Bonnie, who is aimlessly wandering near the restrooms. Peter reaches a kitchen door. He hangs upside down, pushes the door open slightly, and peeks inside. Chica is standing there in the middle of the dark kitchen. She is massive. Her bib reads, "Let's eat," but her jaw is broken, locked wide open in a permanent scream. She isn't just knocking pots around. She's smashing her heavy metal hands against the ovens, acting out of pure frustration. Peter uses his enhanced vision to scan the room. He notices something hidden behind a stack of old cardboard boxes in the corner, a loose floorboard. He shoots a web, grabs Chica's cupcake off a counter, and throws it across the room to distract her. The heavy chicken lumbers towards the blaze. Peter drops silently from the ceiling, pulls the loose floorboard up, and finds a hidden compartment. Inside are a stack of old newspaper clippings. Peter grabs them, leaps back up to the ceiling, and crawls back to the security office. He sits at his desk, turns on the flashlight, and reads. The headlines make his blood run cold. 5 children missing at local pizzeria. Suspect convicted, but bodies never found. Local pizzeria threatened with shutdown over sanitation complaints. Parents notice blood and mucus around eyes and mouths of mascots. Peter pieced it together instantly. 5 kids were murdered here years ago. The police never found the bodies because the killer
It's because Peter's a master investigator. He would solve this so freaking quickly.
and bury them. He stuffed them inside the animatronic suits. That's why they smell, Peter whispers. That's why there's blood on the endoskeletons. They aren't robots with broken servos, they're coffins. Suddenly, the air in the office gets incredibly cold. The desk fan stutters and dies. The lights flicker. Peter's spider sense screams at max volume. It feels like ice being injected straight into his spine. He looks up at the doorway. Freddy Fazbear is standing there. Freddy is different from the others. He doesn't move randomly. He hides in the dark, staying in the blind spots of the cameras. His eyes are pitch black, and he's playing a slow music box tune. The Toreador March echoes through the dark office. Freddy lunges. Peter doesn't use the webbing this time. He realizes that these are angry, confused, trapped children. They don't know he's Peter Parker. They just see an adult in a security uniform. The exact same kind of uniform the man who murdered them wore. Peter leaps sideways, dodging Freddy's massive hands. He grabs the heavy desk and kicks it backward, hitting Freddy against the wall.
Okay,
The
wait a
robot
minute. I feel like he solved that a little too fast. I think that part's wrong. I think he said people were murdered, but he doesn't know how. He shouldn't know how they were murdered. Like, obviously by the suits, yeah, but he shouldn't know that security guard murdered them yet. He should think that the robots accidentally killed them. And now the kids are angry or something like, or now something is haunting them or something like that. But I feel like he would use his webs. I feel like that part's wrong. That's just on me, though. That's just my opinion.
I know what happened to you.
That's just my
Peter
opinion.
yells, holding the desk in place. I know you're in there. I know you're hurting, but I'm not the guy who did this to you. Freddy stops struggling for a fraction of a second. The music box slows down. The black eyes stare at Peter. For a moment, Peter doesn't see a mechanical bear. He feels the distinct, sorrowful presence of a scared little boy. But the anger is too strong. The programming and the rage take over again. Freddy roars and shoves the desk away. Peter shoots a thick web line, grabs a heavy steel door, and pulls it down manually, locking Freddy out in the hallway. Peter sits on the floor, breathing heavily. He can't just fight these things. Punching them won't solve anything. Webbing them up won't give them peace. He has to find the guy who did this. He gets up slowly, leans against the desk, quiet. Then, under his breath, he heard me. For a second, he stopped. Night 4 changes the rules completely. The physical threats become secondary to the psychological ones. Peter spends the first few hours of the shift digging through the manager's filing cabinets. He breaks the cheap locks with his bare hands, flipping through employment records, blueprints, anything that points to who owned the building in the 80s. 5 kids. He keeps coming back to that. 5 sets of parents who never got an answer. He isn't leaving this building until he finds one. He finds the name heavily redacted in a stack of old legal documents. William Afton, co-founder of FAZBEAR Entertainment, robotics genius, the man who designed his springlock suits. As Peter reads the file, his vision suddenly blurs. A wave of nausea hits him. His spider sense doesn't just tingle, it burns. It warns him of a threat that isn't physical. Peter looks up. The posters on the wall have changed. Instead of normal cartoon versions of Freddy and Bonnie, they're twisted, crying faces. The words "It's me" are scrawled across the walls in what looks like fresh blood. He looks at the corner of the office. Sitting slumped on the floor is a massive empty golden bear suit. Golden Freddy. The suit doesn't have an endoskeleton. It shouldn't be able to move. It shouldn't even be here. It's a pure supernatural projection. Peter stares at the golden suit. The suit's head slowly tilts up. His empty black eye sockets lock onto Peter's eyes. A high-pitched scream fills Peter's brain. It isn't coming from the room. It's happening inside his own head. Golden Freddy uses psychic, paranormal force to attack the mind directly. In the game, this instantly crashes a system and kills the guard. But Peter Parker's willpower is legendary. He has fought off telepathic attacks from mutants, aliens, and symbiotes. His mind behind is a steel trap. Peter falls to his knees, clutching his head. The hallucinations flood his vision. He sees flashes of a back room. He sees a man in a yellow rabbit suit holding a knife. He sees 5 terrified children crying in the dark. He feels their pain, their confusion, and their endless suffocating agony. This is what the blood in Foxy's chest cavity meant. This is what the copper spell has been trying to tell him since night 1. Get out of my head! Peter growls. He forces himself to stand up. He walks directly towards the golden hallucination. I see it, Peter says. I see what he did to you. Cassidy. Your name is Cassidy. The screaming in Peter's head stutters. The ghost is shocked. No security guard has ever fought back against a psychic assault. No adult has ever listened to them. I'm going to stop him, Peter promises, kneeling down in front of the empty suit. I promise you, I will find William Afton, and I will make him pay for what he took from you. But you have to let me work. The golden suit twitches. The empty eye sockets stare at Peter for a long time. Then the suit simply fades away into dust. The posters return to normal. The words on the wall vanish. Peter is left alone in the office, sweating and exhausted. He's found the name. He knows what happened.
Oh, I
and
bet
now he has 1 night
exhausted.
left to find the proof. William Afton is not a stupid man. He's a meticulous, brilliant psychopathic serial killer. Even though he formerly left FAZBEAR Entertainment years ago, he still watches the old locations. He monitors the payroll. He knows they hire cheap, desperate night guards. He knows the haunted animatronics kill them. It serves his purpose perfectly. It keeps people away from the secrets hidden in the building, specifically the sealed safe room where he left his old equipment. But this week, the reports are wrong. Afton checks the company data from his private residence. The new guard, a kid named Peter Parker, hasn't died. The maintenance logs show massive anomalies. Animatronics found in the mornings, covered in an unidentifiable chemical polymer. Foxy's legs glued to the floor. Bonnie suspended from the ceiling. Freddy's jaw webbed shut. Afton decides he has to silence the kid himself before Peter finds the safe room. It's night 5. It's pouring rain outside. Peter sits in the office, already working. He's fully bypassed the power grid, and he's currently dismantling a spare Freddy mask on the desk, trying to reverse engineer the facial recognition scanners. His spider sense spikes. It's not a ghost or an animatronic. It's a real-life human threat. Peter looks at the camera monitor, a figure walking through the dining area, tall, wearing a purple security uniform, moving silently, avoiding the animatronics, walking with the confidence of someone who built the building. Peter watches a man walk towards the bathrooms, pull a crowbar from his jacket, and approach a section of the wall that looks solid. The man wedges the crowbar into a hidden seam and forces open a concealed door. The safe room, a room completely off the camera grid. Peter sets down the mask. He thinks of Bonnie, frozen in the doorway on night 1. Foxy is eating linoleum on night 2. Freddy hears him through the rage for 1 single second on night 3. He thinks of Cassidy, fading into dust, asking him to end this. There's no battery pack to punch here, no water hose for this kind of sand, no rule in Peter Parker's rulebook that covers a man who murders children and hides their bodies in mascot costumes. But he's going to figure it out. Peter pulls his spider mask out of his pocket and pulls it over his head. Time to work. Spider-Man crawls out of the office, moving silently along the ceiling of the East Hall. He reaches the dining room. The animatronics are frozen, staring at the open door of the safe room. Even the ghosts seem terrified of the man who just walked inside. Spider-Man drops down and steps into the hidden room. The room is dark, damp, and smells like rust. Old arcade cabinets and spare endoskeleton parts scattered around. In the center of the room, standing next to a decaying yellow rabbit suit, is William Afton. Afton turns around. He expects to see a terrified college student in a cheap uniform. Instead, he sees a superhero in a red and blue suit standing in the doorway. Who the hell are you supposed to be? Afton asks. His voice is cold, and he draws a heavy hunting knife from his belt. A new mascot? I'm the guy who ruins your night, William, Spider-Man says, his white lenses narrowing. I found the clippings. I found the police reports. I know what you did to those kids. Afton laughs. It's a dry psychopathic sound. You're a guy in tights. You think you can stop me? I built every spring in those suits. I know every secret in this building. You can't touch me here. You're a sad, pathetic old man who murders children because he's too cowardly to fight anyone his own size, Spider-Man replies. And it ends tonight. Afton lunges. He's fast, and he knows how to kill. He thrusts his knife towards Spider-Man's chest. Peter simply tilts his body out of the way. He grabs Afton's wrist, applies a fraction of his superhuman strength, and squeezes. Afton's wrist bone snaps loudly. Afton screams, dropping the knife. Spider-Man doesn't punch him. He doesn't want to kill him. He wants him in prison. He fires a web, hitting Afton's broken arm to the wall. It's over, William, Spider-Man says. The police are on their way. I called them 10 minutes ago. I gave them everything. Afton panics. He knows he can't go to prison. He looks desperately around the room. His eyes land on the old spring body suit standing in the corner. The suit he used to lure the children. The suit he used to hide from the animatronics, because their programming registers it as an employee. With his free hand, Afton reaches into his pocket, pulls out a small canister of pepper spray, and sprays it directly into Spider-Man's mask lenses. Peter is temporarily blinded. He stumbles backwards, coughing. Afton uses this to his advantage. He rips his arms free from the webbing, tearing his own skin, and dives towards the spring body suit. He hastily climbs inside the hollow animatronic, shoving his arms and legs into the mechanical cavities. He pulls the yellow rabbit suit over his face. Spider-Man wipes his eyes, clearing his vision. He looks at Afton, now standing inside the rabbit suit.
You can't touch me now!
Afton laughs, his voice muffled by the thick plastic and fur.
This suit makes me invincible! It won't hurt me in this!
But Afton made a fatal mistake. Spider-Man looks up. Standing in the doorway of the safe room are the 5 ghostly glowing figures. The souls of the missing children. Gabriel, Jeremy, Susie, Fritz, and Cassidy. They aren't tied to the animatronics in this room. They are pure spirits, minutes, and they're staring directly at their killer. Afton looks at the ghosts. His bravado vanishes entirely. He backs up, terrified.
No! Get back! I'm one of you! You can't hurt me!
Spider-Man realizes what's about to happen. He knows the mechanics of the spring lock suits from the blueprints he read. The suits are held open by fragile, tightly wound spring locks. If they get wet, or if the user moves too fast, the locks snap, driving the metal endoskeleton directly into the wearer's body. And the roof of the safe room has been leaking rain all night. Afton takes a step backward, terrified of the ghosts, and steps directly into a puddle of rainwater dripping from the ceiling. The sound echoes through the small room like a gunshot. Afton freezes. His eyes go wide behind the mask. The spring locks in his legs give away. The heavy metal crossbeams slam into his flesh, shattering his femurs and severing his arteries. Afton drops to his knees, screaming a blood-curdling scream of pure agony. The locks in the chest and arms release. Metal rods drive through the ribs, puncturing his lungs. Blood immediately begins pouring out of the suit's joints, pooling on the floor. Afton thrashes violently, choking on his own blood, screaming for help. Spider-Man's first instinct is to save him. It's what he does. He doesn't let people die, even monsters. Peter lunges forward to try and pry the suit open, but as he reaches for the rabbit's head, the 5 glowing spirits step in front of him. Cassidy looks up at Spider-Man. She doesn't speak, but Peter hears her voice in his head. Let it end. Peter stops. He looks at the screaming, dying monster in the suit. He looks at the ghosts of the children who suffered for years in the dark. For the first time in his superhero career, Peter Parker takes a step back. He doesn't interfere. He watches as William Afton collapses onto the floor in a massive pool of blood. He screams, turning into a wet, gurgling rattle until he finally stops moving completely. The yellow rabbit lies dead on the floor. Springtrap is bored, but he will never escape this room. The 5 ghostly children look at Peter. They smile. The oppressive atmosphere in the building lifts. The spirits begin to fade away into the light, finally finding the peace they were denied for so long. By 6 a.m., the sun rises over the city. The police arrive in force. Sirens wail as dozens of squad cars surround the pizzeria. Peter already changed back into his cheap security uniform. He meets the detectives at the front door. He hands them a massive folder, financial records, blueprints, missing children reports, and a written statement detailing everything he found. He points them to the safe room in the back. The police find Afton's mangled body inside the suit. The forensics team finally finds the DNA evidence hidden inside the core animatronics. The entire horrifying history of Fazbear Entertainment dragged out into the daylight. Within a week, the company is fully liquidated. The remaining executives are arrested for gross negligence and covering up the murders. The pizzeria is permanently shut down, condemned, and scheduled for demolition. The animatronics are dismantled and destroyed in an industrial incinerator, ensuring that nothing paranormal can ever happen with them again. The timeline of FNAF shatters. There's no Five Nights at Freddy's 3. There's no Pizzeria Simulator. There's no security breach. Because when you drop a hero who actually refuses to look the other way into a horror story, the horror story ends. The tragedy is stopped in its tracks. William Afton rots in evidence. The ghosts go home. Everything after, Fazbear's Fright, the Funtime animatronics, Baby, all of it just never happens. Because someone showed up on a Monday night and decided to actually do his job. Peter sits in a small apartment in Queens. He's exhausted, bruised, and completely broken. He didn't even get his $120 paycheck because the company assets were frozen. Aunt May is in the kitchen, cooking breakfast, completely unaware of what her nephew just went through. Peter looks out the window at the New York skyline. He didn't fight a supervillain this week. He didn't save the world from an alien invasion. But as he thinks about those 5 kids finally resting in peace, he realizes something important. He did exactly what Spider-Man was supposed to do. He looked out for the little guy. He stepped into a nightmare that nobody else was willing to face, and he tore down from the inside out. Peter grabs his mask off the bed. He pulls it over his head. The police scanner on his desk crackles to life, reporting a bank robbery downtown by a guy with mechanical octopus arms. Back to the normal weird stuff, Spider-Man says, jumping out of the window and swinging into the morning sky.
Well, that was kind of crazy. I didn't talk very much because I was too invested in the story, okay? I didn't talk very much. Too invested in the story, so I'm talking now. If you want to stay for this part, stay. If you want to leave, leave. Be my guest. Watch some other videos on my channel. But I think Spider-Man, it's pretty much how it would go. The only problem I have is that I feel like Spider-Man figured it out too fast. I think it would take Spider-Man a little bit longer to figure out what happened. And he wouldn't instantly get it either. He would try to help them. He can resist the psychological events. But I think that it'd take him a minute to figure it out. He's really good at investigating, but he's not like instant, you know? It depends on what Spider-Man we're talking about too. Secondly, Purple Guy could not get out of that webbing. William Afton would not be able to get out of that webbing, especially since he said he got his broken hand. He wouldn't do that unless he ripped his own hand off. Because the webbing is too strong. If normal people can't get out of it without having to like cut or anything. Plus, pepper spray in the visors might do something, but because it's the visors, like, sure, you'll get a little bit, but I felt like it lasted too long. Right? Spider-Man still, I don't know about that one. But I still think it's great. I still think it would last how he said it'll last. But either way, if you guys want me to watch his other videos, there's some on the screen here. Let me know. Go subscribe to Spectacular FNAF. And I'll see you guys in the next one.